The standard deviation is an incredibly important concept in statistics. It is a measure of spread. The standard deviation is an abbreviation really for the standard deviation from the mean. It's the most commonly used measure of spread for univariate data, and it's measured in the same units as the data, just like the mean is. A qualitative description of the standard deviation, you might say, instead of a standard deviation from the mean, what it really is describing is a typical distance from the mean. This is not the quantitative definition, but it does give you an idea. If you can think of the typical distance from the mean, you'll have a good idea of what the standard deviation is. So consider these quiz scores in points: 9 points, 8 points, 9 points, 8, 7, and so forth. These quiz scores have a mean of 8.5 points. So what's a typical distance from the mean? Well, 9 is 0.5 points from the mean, 8 is 0.5 from the mean, 0.5, 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, 0.5, and so forth. So think for a moment, what is a typical distance from the mean? If you want to think about it, you could pause and then hit play again. So hopefully you thought it was a little bit more than 1. And the standard deviation of these numbers is in fact a little bit more than 1. That's what the standard deviation is about. There's a difference in statistics whether we're talking about the population or the sample standard deviation. If we can collect data from the entire population, we report the population mean and the population standard deviation. However, most often we can only get a sample set of data from the entire population, and then we report the sample mean and the sample standard deviation. Note that when we can get just a sample, we call the mean x bar and the standard deviation s, and we're using English letters. When we're talking about the entire population, the mean is mu and the standard deviation is sigma. This is lowercase sigma, and in both cases we use Greek letters. The quantitative definition, when collecting data for a variable x having values x sub 1, x sub 2, up to x sub n, this is the population standard deviation, and this is the equation that we use for the sample standard deviation. Notice they use sigma notation, capital Greek S. You will not be responsible for knowing these formula in this course, but you will likely study them in great detail when you take a full course in statistics, and that's an introduction to standard deviation.